Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. There have been only a few people in my life whom I have struggled to forgive more than my father. I was 14 when the phone rang at my sister's house in Oregon, and I still remember the confusion and sadness as it spread like a haze over her face. I don't remember her words, but somehow she communicated to me that our father had died. After that, I only remember running down the dirt road from her house, trying to outrun the pain and the sadness that I knew were about to hit me. I've learned many things about my father since his death. The most difficult was that his death was actually caused by an overdose of heroin and cocaine. I learned that he had struggled with a heroin addiction since the age of 19, and that his own father refused to acknowledge his existence, and that I was a bright spot in an otherwise dark life. Only looking back from the vantage point of being middle-aged can I see how much I struggled as a child to feel important to and loved by him, and perhaps how much he struggled to show me what I meant to him. I wish I could somehow tell my younger self how natural and right those feelings were. In fact, from where I stand now as a father and as a Christian, I can see how necessary those feelings are for us to be in relationship with our Father who art in heaven. The reality of that phone call was not only that my father had died, but I would begin a journey of reconciling the reality of a man who was my earthly father with a God who insists on being called Father. One of the strangest places that I have turned for trying to recapture this idea of a father and son relationship is the story of Abraham and Isaac, shown here in a drawing that I did for this evening. You know the story where Abraham says, "Let's go camping and make a sacrifice to God." And the equivalent to, "Are we there yet?" Isaac keeps asking what they're going to do for an offering since they didn't bring one. God will provide. And I imagine that each time Abraham had to say those words, he felt a pain in his chest. The interesting thing to me about this story is not the picture of faith that God shows us by allowing Abraham the opportunity to express his faith, or the prefiguring of God's redemption through God the Son, who we understand is the one speaking to Abraham. To me, the most interesting part of this story is that Isaac continues in the faith of his father, not being defined by the moment when his father raises his hand to kill him, but rather seeing not only a father willing to do anything for his God, but a God who is willing to save. What this tells me, as I seek to worship a God who wants to be in relationship with me as a father, is that we all build altars, and we will build them out of what we practice in our lives. If you practice humility, then those things you love when offered to God will be given back to you. But when your gods are your pride, your narcissism, and your addictions, they too will require from you an offering. But they are selfish and hungry gods, and they will only consume your life and the lives of the people you love until they are stopped. As I seek to be a father and a Christian, I must first seek to be a child who forgives a father who was himself broken and likely wished that he could have been more for me. The practice of forgiving my father is found in the choosing to not live my life defined by his choices and by praying that God would have mercy on his soul. I must seek to practice humility and keeping my heart soft to my own wife and my children, to my neighbors, and to those I meet every day. You see, mine is a simply complicated misunderstanding. I didn't mean to be the literal metaphor to all the issues conceived years before my own, years before when I dwelt in the mind of God. Why did I ever leave the bliss of being there to become flesh and dwell among them? But by being knit brought knots that are still left tangled like so much dental floss discovered by a curious child in his mother's purse. And by the time you become self-aware enough to stand up and to shout, "I did not ask to be here," you have become entangled in the knots of your own making, and there is no going back, only forward, back to the mind of God. But not merely as a thought, but as a child. A child. The redemption of us all is found in the children. He came as a child, I came as a child, and you came as a child, and he calls us to return to that beautiful frame of mind, unaware of knots. Now I watch my own children make their knots, and I ache and try to help them make the choices that will keep the string taut up off the floor, unless you want to make a stitch. Now that's a knot with purpose.
We hope you enjoyed this message. Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Learn more at biola.edu.